Much love out there to everybody showing love to my channel. This is your host, Majestic, kicking that knowledge you can't get in college. All right, let's kick it off. The topic is, the coup in Bolivia, the ousting of Evo Morales. And basically I want to get into, for those that don't know or that is kind of obscure as far as what's going on, I kind of want to get into the facts and then open up some dialogue about it. So first we have to understand the players involved. Now, obviously, the people who are backing the play, meaning making money moves, would be the United States has about 60 to 75%, so roughly 3/4 of the money behind an organization called OAS, which is Organization of American States. And what you'll notice about a lot of these organizations that are basically regime change organizations is they'll have these fancy names that is actually an inversion of what it is that their intent is. So in this case, OAS is supposed to be able to be some sort of third-party organization that's supposed to so-called verify whether elections are fair, which really the United States sets this place up so that if somebody truly gets democratically elected by the people, but they are not in the hands of Washington and Tel Aviv and what have you, in the corporate mob, if they are not in the pocket of them, then obviously they're gonna utilize this group to say, oh, that it wasn't a fair election, this, that, and the third. Y'all know how they get down. So this is what happened in this case. Now, in Latin America, this is nothing new. There has been a continuity in Latin America of overthrowing democratically elected people that were actually there to help the people and weren't serving business interests from abroad. You know what I mean? Time and time again. I mean, you go back to the banana wars, you know what I mean? Obviously, they tried to do it in Cuba and they were unsuccessful. They poisoned and assassinated Hugo Chavez. And then most recently, of course, they tried to take out the guy who came after him. What's his name? You know who I'm talking about. Maduro, right? And they were unsuccessful because he knew, he was playing chess. He knew every card that they were going to play, you know what I mean? And they had true loyalty within the military, and they made sure that they did the damn thing as far as that. Okay, getting into this, and Evo Morales, which is a part of the MAS movement, which is basically Movimiento al Socialism, or however you say that. It's basically making sure that the people's resources are not being stolen from these cutthroat corporations. That's it. He is serving the interest of his people. Now, mind you, he has brought the indigenous population of Bolivia, which is the majority of the population. We're talking 60 to 70%. He is also the first indigenous Native American president ever. You know what I mean? So this is huge. So obviously, he is there serving the people as he's supposed to, exercising sovereignty, not allowing what's been going on there since time immemorial, which is pure exploitation. That's the name of the game. It's exploitation of the indigenous people, of the African people, the mestizos, whoever it is. You have this white upper class who has been dominating, who is the colonial class, basically, who once in Latin America, once they gained independence from Spain, you still had these factions there, still continuing to do the same thing they always do. They're going to try to control, whether it be through proxy or otherwise, you know what I mean, through corporations or whatever, to exploit the indigenous population, the African people, the mestizos, whoever it is that they're trying to exploit, the poor, the underclass, so that's all that's going on here. Now, they basically are just using the playbook with Juan Guaido. So this bitch Janine Áñez or Janine Áñez or however you say that, this bitch is just Juan Guaido and Hills. You know what I mean? They didn't even need to dust off the playbook. You know what I mean? It was still fresh. They used the exact same playbook. So this bitch got the nerve to go in and swear herself in as president, man. This is a joke. Like, how could the United States is being so bold right now, you know what I mean, to just, it's just blatant. It's like the mask is totally off. It's like they're not even trying to hide it anymore. You know what I mean? This is anti-democracy. So you telling me that the United States goes all the way around the world in the name of democracy, like, oh, we want to go into this country because they don't have democracy, when actually they're carrying the banner of democracy, and they too are an inversion of that, because we don't even have a democracy here in the United States. You know what I mean? That's a whole nother video, but we do not. You know what I mean? We have a system of pick your dictator. So I don't even know how long it's been that we haven't had democracy, but it's been a long time. So about this Janine Áñez, or Janine Áñez, she is anti-indigenous, anti-democratic, obviously, you know. And the first thing that she did was she got rid of all the indigenous people in government. She swore in a bunch of, you know, criminals, traitors, you know, along with her. And she gave an order that basically given immunity to the military and police to shoot down native folks, you know what I'm saying, or so-called dissidents, you know what I mean. Now, he was, not only was Evo democratically elected for another term, but by like 10 he won by like 10 points, which, if anybody that follow politics, that's a huge margin, you know what I'm saying. And even though they was over here having his bitch fit about it, you know what I mean, about because they lost, because the people are better off. They went from like 40% poverty down to somewhere almost like 12 to 13% on poverty. So there's been huge strides in the country from the ground up, but, you know, from the leeches that aren't making all that money they used to off of exploiting the people, obviously they're, you know, they got their panties in a twist. So, you know, a bunch of traitors over here, a bunch of really it goes into race. You know, if anybody's familiar with the caste system that Spain implemented, it's always this degree of whiteness, and which ties in with class. You know what I mean? And this is sadly still prevalent in a lot of Spanish-speaking countries and elsewhere. You know, colorism and whatnot. So there's always been that, even like a denial of indigenous blood and things like that. Man, it's totally bugged out. So this bitch Áñez, which she's obviously not a pure Spaniard, you could always obviously tell she got Indian blood, but she like a Uncle Tom ass bitch, you know, Uncle Tomasita. I'll call her Malinche Áñez, you know, Guaido and Hills. This bitch got some nerve, and then, you know, she's this radical fundamental Christian who's over there marching with the Bible, making a spectacle, the whole deal, you know, disgusting, you know. So what a lot of people don't know is white supremacy is prevalent. It's a little bit less black and white than it is in the United States, but specifically in Bolivia, you do have a faction based out of Santa Cruz who are actually immigrants from World War II that came from Croatia. Now, they were basically from Croatia, but they were like Nazi collaborators and what have you, so they fled, you know, into Bolivia. So if you take that faction, which their salute is the Nazi salute still to this day, their organization, which is called Ustasha or something like that, they obviously, their whole ideology is an ideology of white supremacy and trying to rule over indigenous people. Okay, forgive me, I'm gonna have to try to yell a little bit so that, you know, you can pick it up, man, 'cause it's kind of loud up in this truck. I tried to do a video earlier like this and didn't realize how shitty the sounds buzz, so I kind of gotta speak up for you to hear me. So I'm working on that though. I'll get like a mic or some shit. Anyway, so like I was saying, as far as these this faction, right? It's a combination of sort of a white supremacist type class, a corporate class, and obviously, like I was talking about, this Croatian Ustasha, whoever the fuck they are, I'm gonna have to look more into them. And you got these Christian fascists, and I know that the Americas itself has paid dearly at the hands of Christian fascists throughout its inception. Horribly. So I want to get into the tactics that they were using here in Bolivia, which was it couldn't be described otherwise than terrorism. If you were to take the same set of circumstances and to apply it to the United States, they would most definitely be calling it terrorism. So imagine this. Let me paint a picture to put it in perspective. And this picture that I'm painting is actually what was happening in Bolivia. So let's go back to the re-election of Barack Obama, okay? Now I'm using him as an example, you'll see why. Let's say in 2008, the re-election of Barack Obama. Now you have a huge amount of people in the United States. Now not every single white person in the United States carries this hatred and this white supremacist ideology, right? However, there's still a huge segment that does, right? So you had a huge segment, of the population, not only based in the South, but a huge percentage was in the South, but overall, I've seen it everywhere. You can go north, you can go Midwest, you can go out west, right? That was pissed off and mad, not at the politics of Barack Obama, which I don't even agree with all the politics of Barack Obama, because he was basically serving the same puppet masters that his predecessors were also serving. But it was because that it was the perceived notion that a black man was ruling over. It's this sense that that white need to dominate and control, that they were somehow losing their grip on power because they were having a black man rule over. That's what it was all about. That's what it was all about. So imagine after the re-election of Barack Obama that he won by a landslide. By landslide, let's assume that it was 10% or 10% plus, right? And you had outrage. Now let's say that the people within his cabinet, the people within his administration, that their houses were, after that, a bunch of white supremacists started burning crosses and dragging them out their houses and burning down their houses, basically terrorizing and intimidating, doing those things. Not only that, but family members of Barack Obama. And then his house himself, let's say he had a house in Chicago or Hawaii, and they burnt that to smithereens. Would that not be like terrorism? Would that not be insurrection? Would that not be anti-democratic because they weren't happy with the way the election results were? That's exactly what happened in Bolivia. So they were terrorizing mayors and governors and setting fires. Now, mind you, the MAS party that I spoke about earlier, which is basically the Socialist Party, which I am a socialist. I'm going to let you know in its most primitive form. You know what I mean? I am a socialist. But that being said, not 100%. That can be another video. I would have. I think I did explain it in one of my old ass videos. And they have like demonized that, right? However, look at how capitalism is going. It can't sustain itself. It's a house of cards. So, getting back to the socialists have about 25 out of 35 or 25 out of 36 what we would have like senators or whatever, right? So a huge ratio. Regardless of all that, you know, this corporate coup, you know, this military / corporate coup, because mind you, a lot of bribery was going on, a lot of planning was going on. You have a lot of these military people who trained in the United States, and there's back channels and back doors, you know what I'm saying? So they've been working over the past decade plus against this administration that's given power back to the people, that is elected from the people and it's working for the people. You know what I mean? So you have a bitch named Janice Daza or something like that, another regime change bitch. And they like, you see how they're starting to transition from using men to women. I don't know, that's a psychology thing, I think, you know. But these people are trained in DC or trained at elite schools, and you have them opening up so-called human rights foundations, which, like I said earlier, serves the opposite purpose. It's an inversion. Well, she's linked to a dude, and his name eludes me at the moment, who was actually caught in an assassination plot of Evo Morales. Lo and behold, where does he get asylum at? In the United States. You know what I mean? Of all places. So, I mean, it's no secret that the United States is involved in all these regime change wars and coups and stuff like that. I want to take a moment out. Shout out Tulsi Gabbard. She's the best hope that is out there right now. That's why she's being attacked. But you got to look at all these regime changes that have happened, and attempted regime changes. You have Gaddafi. And what Gaddafi, and I'm sorry I get off of the subject, but it's important, and it all ties in. Gaddafi, what he was trying to do is move away from the dollar. Because that's been a mechanism that the United States has been using to implement their draconian tyranny, you know, is through the dollar, right? The petrodollar. It's not backed by gold, right? And what he was trying to do was move away from the dollar, not only do that, but have an African currency, unified Africa, because they have actual resources, gold, diamonds, silver, etc. You know what I mean? They are rich in commodities, you know what I'm saying? And he wanted to have something that was actually backed. Immediately after that, that's when Hillary Clinton and, you know, Barack Obama administration, led by Hillary Clinton, went into Libya to basically do a regime change and murder a leader who was, again, exercising sovereignty and, you know, not falling in line with the white power structure, the Anglo-Saxon regime, based out of Washington, D.C., Tel Aviv, and Rome. So you have Libya, you have Syria, which Syria, Iraq, Iran, all these countries, you see, you have the United States working hand in hand with the Zionist illegal occupied regime that are calling themselves, that are claiming to be Jewish, which again, that's a whole other video. They are working in UNISEC because they have joint interest, you know what I mean? So Syria has, Israel has a lot to gain because of their Greater Israel Initiative, you know, and their cult-like belief that they need to have ownership from everywhere, from Egypt to Euphrates, or whatever the bullshit is. Even their flag itself is representative from one river to another, and they're just using religion to justify colonialism, 21st century colonialism. And of course, the United States is all about colonialism, so they're backing them 100%, you know. And I have absolutely, the next video I have to do is with Pompeo's speech, and it's just outright criminality, and the masks are off, and it's going down. You know, that's going to be another video. But this whole regime change thing, you know, it's hit and miss. You know, they were successful in Iraq, they were successful in Libya. So far, they're unsuccessful in Syria, but they've been trying shit since what, like 2013. If you go in my old videos, I posted a video from an old channel that I had in 2013 where I was giving an analysis. It's somewhere down in my videos, and I showed the timestamp where it's talking about Syria. They've been trying to do this since at least 2013, 2012. And now you see what's going on. And last night, I believe it was, I was looking last night before I went to bed, and boom, Israel's going to have more fake rockets that are supposedly, they're firing rockets from Syria. Any justification, I mean, you can go back to that analysis and see that this has been an ongoing thing, that they just want to take over the whole, they want to colonize the entire Middle East, take over all the resources, all the oil. Same thing that's been going. It's been a continuity since 1492. To the Americas, and Africa, and everywhere. You know what I mean? I say that to say this. It's blatantly racist what's going on in Bolivia. And it only happens in countries with people of color, obviously. They're the only ones that are obviously not allowed to exercise their sovereignty. Meanwhile, we're just parading freedom and democracy. It's fucking disgusting. You know? And you got these people that came into Bolivia who are burning the indigenous flags. I really believe that there needs to be a unified South Central America, really a unified so-called Latino movement. The countries that are not controlled by corporate factions, that are not controlled by the United States, and Israel, and the UK, they need to have a coalition. They need to have a military alliance. I think they should have a military alliance, gain military strength. They need to go in and see what the United States is doing, where they use their military and they say, oh, this wasn't democratic, we're going in to restore democracy. Well, here's the perfect case in point. The United States is backing the coup. So what these other countries, no longer Brazil because they have Bolsonaro, which is controlled, but other countries need to have a coalition and go into Bolivia, take out the traitors in the military and police, and restore democracy in Bolivia. Fuck it, you can have another vote. But they can't allow Bolivia to fall, because there has been too many strides and too many positive things that have happened for the people in Bolivia to let that shit fall in disgrace. Alright people, that's it. I've said a lot. I just wanted to pretty much in a summary what's going down to those who aren't, you know, in the know or want to open up dialogue. I would love to follow up on this, and obviously I'm going to be watching it closely. Please subscribe to my channel. I'm going to be making videos probably every day or every other day. I've been away from this for years. I took a break. Before there was Richie from Boston or any of that shit, I was on this shit. You see some of my old ass videos from way back, 2011, 2012. I just took a long break. And now I'm back at it, man. I'm too fired up about this shit. And now I feel the pressure because by December 11th, I don't have none of my videos monetized, obviously, but by December 11th, Google, oh man, this is like a whole nother video too. By December 11th, they're trying to do this little bullshit to where they're saying if it's not economically viable, that they don't have to host your video. So you got to understand, when YouTube started, it almost started as a video sharing platform likened to home videos. I'm sharing my home videos. It's like me opening up my photo album or sharing my home videos. with you, and now they've turned it into something else. You know what I mean? Anti-free speech and trying to monitor everything. It's like the Ministry of Information, you know, and what you are allowed to say and aren't allowed to say with all this community guideline bullshit. Now they've taken a step further so they can basically get rid of free speech if you're not going along, towing the line of the mainstream narrative, government and corporate narrative. Then they're just going to say, well, you're not economically viable. If we can't make money off of you, then we don't have to host your video. So that's a whole other video. I'm not going to get too far in that. But the reason I would hope to get 1,000 subscribers for December 11th, whether I will, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? And the reason that I want to is because I want to be able to have at least 1,000 so that I can do live videos, which I used to be able to do, and interact with the people. But now they continue to move the goalposts. Now I'm no longer allowed to have live videos where I can actually interact with people live. Now I have to have 1,000 subscribers. So definitely, man, that would be showing love, and I will show love by bringing you unfiltered content, hopefully good analysis, good insight on each video that I do, keeping up with current events, and I pretty much base everything in both reality and based on historical fact and trends. So y'all have a blessed day, and I'll see y'all tomorrow, where I'm gonna be, or tonight, where I'm gonna be doing a video about the latest breaking news on bitch ass Pompeo and all of the criminality coming out of this Trump administration. Y'all be cool. Okay, yeah, hold up, man. I thought I was done, but I'm not. I forgot to mention a few things about Bolivia. I get carried away. So, some important things to understand about socialism, okay? So, in its basic model would be that the people of Bolivia, or let's say the people of America, or, you know, fill in the blank, they own the resources of the country, okay? Let's use the United States as an example, okay? So, here in the United States, supposedly, we the people, this is our country, right? That's what they tell you. You're free, this is your country, right? However, why is it that, whether it be a foreign corporation, that corporations are allowed to extract an unlimited amount of your, supposedly your resources, oil, they get 100% of the profit, you get nothing. Does that sound like a good deal? This is what you weak-ass Republicans support? Like, this is what, or actually not even just Republicans, just socialism is bad and all this shit, right? Wait a minute, hold on, that's a raw, fucked up deal. That's a fucked up deal, right? So, what about, like, what they do in Alaska is they give a dividend, meaning, okay, if you as an oil corporation want to come up in this motherfucking state, then we gotta see something out of this, okay? We own the resources. This is ours, right? Right? Isn't it that this is our country and we just elect people as representatives? Well, that's what it's supposed to be, right? That's what they tell you that it's supposed to be, right? It's student government, but that ain't how it's playing out right now. So all's that people like Hugo Chavez, for people that don't know, Hugo Chavez or Fidel Castro or Evo Morales, all they're saying is, okay, this is our resources. We're not going to allow these outside people to come in, extract everything, make billions and trillions of dollars, and give us nothing. Like, no, we're just like Hugo Chavez did, is what Evo Morales did. He said, okay, instead of the oil corporations making all the money, the profits from the oil or from the lithium or whatever it is that you're trying to extract, there has to be profit sharing, and it has to be redirected into social programs such as free education, which I think we tend to take advantage of here in the United States, you know, public health, you know, social well-being, you know what I mean? And that's enough to get you on the axis of evil list, apparently, right? By who? By the people who are not allowed to exploit labor, by the people who are not allowed to exploit the resources. So that's all that's going on. So this would be equivalent to Mexico coming in here, since people love to hate Mexico, right? If they came in here and was saying, we're extracting all the oil, but we're not giving you anything. You know what I'm saying? This is what they're trying to do with the lithium in Bolivia. So they were trying to they wanted to make deals and say, we want to come in here and extract the lithium, but obviously being a good broker for his people, Evo says, okay, we can work something out. However, there's going to have to be profit sharing, which is not unreasonable. If I allow you to come in, this is ours, right? If I allow you to come in here and extract lithium that you might be able to want to be using for Tesla, for futuristic electric cars and batteries, because lithium is the gold standard, then okay, there's going to have to be profit sharing, and some of that money, a good portion of that money is going to have to go into social programs for my people, because this is our resource. That is him looking out, doing his job, looking out for the best interest of his people, because it is their resource. That's it. That's all it was. And then China came in and they were willing to honor that deal, and then that's when they went full-fledged with the coup. You know what I mean? They tried everything, and he still got elected by a landslide, and it was time for plan B. So I had to explain that they demonize socialism, but how is it that land and the resource, not even water? So all these companies, these corporations are taking our shit and we get nothing back, but they will have you believe that socialism is horrible. Well, look at the Alaska model. That's it. That's all I wanted to say. Next video is going to be on punk ass Pompeo and everything that he has. That's all I got to say. I'm out for real estate.